This video is part of our arithmetic series. It's on exponents, square roots, and order of operations. So looking at the top, you will see an expression 3 to the 5th power, which is meaning 3, the number 3, used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in multiplication, or 5 copies of 3. So what we're going to do is look at these expressions and write them using exponential notation. Here we have 3 copies of 7, so we would write that 7 to the 3rd power. We have 2 copies of 3, so 3 squared. This one is a little bit different because we have to do the 3s and the 9s separately. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 copies of 3 times 3 copies of 9, or 3 to the 4th times 9 to the 3rd. And you can't multiply the 3 times the 9. Those are completely different bases. By the way, this is called the base, and this is called the exponent, if you hear that language throughout this video. Let's evaluate some expressions. It says example 2a, 9 to the 2nd power, or 9 squared, means 9 times 9, or 81. Next, we have 6 to the 1st power, which means 1 copy of 6, which is obviously just 6. Typically, if the exponent is a 1, it's not shown. Here we have 3 to the 4th power, which means 1, 2, 3, 4. A quick way to multiply that is 3 times 3 is 9, 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 9 is 81. This one you have to be very careful of. You can't multiply the 5 times the 6. It's kind of like this one we did up here. The bases are different, so you have to keep them separate. So what we have is 5 times 2 copies of 6. Now you can multiply it all together. 5 times 6 is 30. 30 times 6 is 180. Let's take a look at the middle of the page where we start order of operations, and you'll see this PEMDAS written here. I just want to explain one part of it. I'm going to go over all of it though. P stands for parentheses. You do what is in parentheses first if it is a computation that can be done, and not just parentheses that are used as a separator. E is our exponent. We do exponents next after parentheses. The M and the D mean multiply and divide. However, it doesn't necessarily mean that multiply comes before divide. It means whichever comes first, traveling left to right. So it really should be multiply or divide. And then this is add or subtract. Again, whichever comes first, going left to right. These should be very simple. They're not. They're very difficult and easy to make careless mistakes on. So let's take a look. It says to simplify, we have multiplication, subtraction, and division. Which do we do first? Well, we don't have parentheses or exponents, so we're going to multiply and divide whichever comes first, going left to right. And you want to write this in the way that I'm going to show you, where you only complete one step at a time. So 2 times 4 is 8 minus 3 divided by 3. Now what comes next? Subtraction or division? It's division. So it's 8 minus 3 divided by 3 is 1, or 8 minus 1 is 7. And yes, you need to write each line that I show you, otherwise you're going to make careless mistakes. Here we have exponent, divide, multiply. So exponent comes first. Now we write the divide and the multiply. Remember, multiply and divide, you do whichever comes first, going left to right. Well, going left to right, divide comes first. So it's 16 divided by 2 is 8, and 8 times 4 is 32. You do not do the multiplication first. You don't get the same answer. So you must follow those order of operations. On this one, we're going to go to the parentheses first, and inside the parentheses, I really can do that. So 8 minus 6 is 2 squared plus 2 cubed times 3. Now I'm going to go to exponents. 2 squared is 4 plus 2 cubed is 2 times 2 times 2 is 8 times 3. Now be careful. It's very tempting to say 4 plus 8 is 12. But you have to do the multiplication first because multiply comes before add. So we do this first, and we have 4 plus 24 is 28. This one, there's a lot going on. So what we're going to do is go to the parentheses first inside the brackets. So we're going to work our way from the inside out, not doing anything else. So 4 cubed plus, I'm not going to do this yet, 3 squared minus, now I'm going to do these parentheses. 10 divided by 2 is 5 minus 7 times 3. I'm not going to do any of that. Notice I only did one thing, the parentheses right there. Now I'm going to, still working in the brackets because they work like parentheses, I'm going to square. So 4 cubed plus 3 times 3 is 9 minus 5 minus 7 times 3. I still only did one thing. Now we're going to do the 9 minus 5. So 4 cubed plus 9 minus 5 is 4 minus 7 times 3. Now we can do 4 cubed, which means 4 times 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16 times 4 is 64 plus 4 minus 7 times 3. We have add, subtract, and multiply. So what comes next would be multiply right there. So it's going to be 64 plus 4 minus 21. Now we do add and subtract working left to right. 64 plus 4, 68 minus 21 is 47, and it required that I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines to keep from making a careless mistake. When you have one like example E, we're going to do the top part of the fraction as a separate problem, the bottom part of the fraction as a separate problem, and then we're going to put them together. So in my numerator, 7 minus 2 times 3 plus 3 squared is 9. I only did the exponent first. In the denominator, I'm going to do the parentheses. 2 minus 1 is 1. In my numerator, what comes first? Multiplication. So it's going to be 7 minus 2 times 3 is 6 plus 9 over 5 times 1 is 5. 7 minus 6 is 1 plus 9 over 5. 10 over 5 is 2. This one is a tricky one because so many people want to do the multiplication first. But you have to do, remember, multiply and divide going left to right. The division comes first, so you actually do that first. 64 divided by 8 is 8 times 2 plus 4. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 4 is 20. Always following order of operations. Here we have the absolute value sign, which just means the distance from 0 on a number line. It doesn't matter what direction. So you've got -7 times the distance. That's what the absolute value, these things are absolute value. The absolute value of 7 is 7 times the absolute value of -7 is also 7. It's 7 hops from 0, so it's always going to be a positive. So then we start multiplying. -7 times 7 is -49 times 7 is -343. Move that up so you can see it. Here we have another absolute value, so I have 5 take away. The absolute value of -3 is 3 plus 3. I work left to right with add and subtract, so 5 take away 3 is 2 plus 3 is 5. Be very, very careful with order of operations because it's just so easy to make careless errors with those. So looking at our next page, we talked just a little bit about square roots and perfect squares. So it says blank are the result of multiplying a number times itself. That would be perfect square numbers. I'm going to abbreviate there. List the first 10 perfect square numbers. Well, we would have 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 6 times 6, 7 times 7, or you could say it 8 squared, 9 squared, and 10 squared. Those are the perfect square numbers, and they continue forever. A blank is the number that was multiplied by itself to attain a perfect square number, and that is called the square root. The symbol used in this case is this symbol right here. So find the square root. Square root of 36 means what number was multiplied times itself to get 36? The answer is 6. Not 6 times 6, but just 6. This means the negative of or minus whatever was multiplied to get 16 times itself. So negative 4. Here we have square root of 9 over 100. When you have a giant square root over a fraction, you can change that to 2 little square roots like this. So what got multiplied times itself to make 9? 3. What got multiplied times itself to make 100 is 10. So the square root of 9 100ths is 3/10. And the square root of 0 is just 0.